Hey everybody, it's the Burger Dude. Today I want to show you how to make some vegan mozzarella sticks. And if you don't know what a mozzarella stick is, it's essentially a deep fried stick of, you guessed it, mozzarella. And there's two ways to do this. We can either use some store-bought mozzarella, such as this Daya mozzarella style deluxe cheese sticks. I wasn't crazy about these, so I would not recommend them, but maybe you like them. And if you do, they're very easy to whip up into mozzarella sticks. You could also try using some mozzarella slices, and you just want to kind of cut them into stick-type shapes, but you just got to make sure to keep the slices from falling apart, which I had a hard time doing when I tried that. There's also this Miyoko's mozzarella, which is probably my favorite on the market. It melts really great, and you just want to cut it into, stick-type shapes, and it'll work out pretty good. But today we're also going to be making some homemade mozzarella, and this is a recipe that was definitely inspired by some of the other great vegan cheese masters like Lacey at Avocados and Ales and Nora at Nora Cooks, as well as Sauce Stash. So I'll link to them in the description for some of their great recipes if you want to check those out. And we're going to start off with a half cup of cashews, and then we're going to give them a nice warm bath. Just give them a good old cashew jacuzzi sort of thing. Cover them in hot water for about 10 minutes or so. And while the cashews are taking a bath, let's get our ingredients together. So we've got some kappa carrageenan and some tapioca flour. And these are the two most uncommon ingredients. You can get them online. Tapioca flour you should be able to get at any old store. Next up is the hot chili pepper brine. We're going to use this instead of, usually you use lemon juice or vinegar. I'm going to use this because I like a little bit of spicy, but feel free to use lemon or vinegar or whatever you like. But I do love this brine. You're also going to need some sort of container for your cheese. As soon as we're done blending it, you're going to want to transfer it in there because the cheese is going to start to solidify. So what we're going to do now is get our plant-based milk, and we're going to heat this up. And the reason why we're heating this up is because the heat is going to activate the kappa carrageenan to kind of gel up the cheese and make it solid. And while your milk is boiling, let's get the other ingredients ready in a blender. So we've got some vegan butter, some nutritional yeast, of course. And then we're also going to do the tapioca flour. It's also called tapioca starch if you see that. It's the same thing. After that, we're going to add in some MSG. You could also use some good old salt if you like. And then we've got the brine from the hot peppers as well. Put in as much as you like. Next up is the kappa carrageenan. And then once your plant milk is boiled, slowly, slower than I did, add it to the blender. And then cover it up. And now we're going to blend it up. And it was about, 5 seconds or so into this that I realized, this is blending a lot smoother than I remember it did last time. And I realized I forgot the all-important cashews. So don't be a ding-dong like me, and remember to add your cashews before you start blending. It turned out okay, though. No big deal. So you just want to get it to the magic point where you start to see that kind of suction-y sort of thing. If you're getting a hard time with it, just use a tamper. And then once you got it like that, do that for about a minute or so. And the heat from the plant milk and the kappa carrageenan is going to start activating, and it's going to start solidifying fairly quickly. So once you feel like you've got it all blended up, again, I probably blended mine for about a minute and a half or so. Quickly transfer this to the container that you had, whether it's a glass container. Make sure you get your hairy arm in the shot like that. And you do have a little bit of time. It's not like this stuff is going to solidify into a block of concrete right away. It's still pretty, liquid. But as you can see here, this stuff that's stuck to the side, it's already cheese right there, So once you have it all in your container, add it to the fridge and let it chill for at least 3 hours. I'd like to do mine overnight. And then we're going to cut it up into sticks to fry up for our mozzarella sticks. And just cut them however you like. It's been a while since I've had mozzarella sticks. Oh, look at this. I just wanted to show off. That looks like cheese to me. It is. It's cheese. Just because it's vegan doesn't mean it's not cheese, right? So just cut them into whatever kind of shape you like. I feel like for me, this is what I remember a mozzarella stick. That's about the size and diameter of one that I remember. And I think I got about 24 out of this recipe. I think it renders about just under a pound worth of cheese. And there you go, look at that. That looks like cheese to me. Like I said, it is cheese. I would even say it's better than cheese because, it has no cows involved. No stealing the babies from the cows to get their milk. It's so weird that humans do this. I'll get off my soapbox. Let's do some dredging. So let's get some flour into a bowl. And we're going to season this flour with a little bit of nooch. And then some Italian seasoning, some garlic powder, and then we're going to do a little bit of salt. And feel free to season this however you like. Make it spicy, you know, make it bland. If you like bland, hey, I'm not going to stop you for, I'm not here to kink shame. And then next, we want to do our wet. So I'm going to be using some Just Egg, but you can also use just some plant milk and apple cider vinegar to make like a vegan buttermilk. You just want something that's going to stick, And I do like the Just Egg. It is going down in price, which is nice. We've also got some breadcrumbs. If you have regular breadcrumbs, those are great. If you have panko like me, you might need to grind them up because they're a little bit too big. They're not going to stick to the mozzarella sticks as good as we want them to. We're going to put some more nooch in there because, I don't know, something about not seasoning my flour or my breadcrumbs feels wrong. So we're going to do some nooch, some Italian seasoning, and some garlic powder, as well as, did I salt this? I didn't salt this. What I did do, however, which was a dingus move, was I didn't make sure that my food processor was ready. And now my blade has become unhinged and I got to take it out and pour everything out and then get the blade back in there. It's just a big old pain in the butt. So just make sure that your food processor is all nice and ready before you start loading it up. Otherwise, you got to redo everything all over again. So let's put that stuff back in there. And we're just going to pulse this and grind it up into a finer powder. It doesn't have to be like a powder, but just like normal breadcrumbs instead of panko breadcrumbs. And there we go. There's a little bowl that I should have probably put all that stuff into a bigger bowl so that it doesn't go everywhere. And what we're going to do is we're going to dredge the mozzarella stick first in the flour and then in the egg or the buttermilk, and just make sure that you get it nice and coated. And then into the breadcrumbs and coat that up real good. And then back into the egg. So we're going to do a double dredge, but just with the egg and the breadcrumbs and not with the flour. And once you got them nice and coated like that, set them aside. And if you want to make your life even easier, you can use a fork instead to go between the egg and the breadcrumbs. And that way you don't get a bunch of crumbs on your fingers. Unless you like getting crumbs on your fingers, go for it. Otherwise, do it like that, set them aside on a parchment-lined baking sheet. And those little guys down there, that's the Miyokos, and then the rest of them are the homemade mozzarella cheese. And a lot of recipes for mozzarella sticks, vegan or non-vegan, call to freeze the mozzarella sticks before you fry them. But I found that resulted in the cheese not melting by the time that the breading was all fried. So I would recommend just letting them sit out at room temperature and then fry them up. And I'll show you what happened to the Miyokos that I had. And I only put them in the freezer for maybe 20 minutes or so. And as you can see, it looks great on the outside. But as you'll see here, as I split it open, that it didn't quite melt as much as we'd like. It's still a little solid, so tasted great, but just wasn't as cheesy as we'd like, which is that. And that is the homemade mozzarella that we made. And vegan cheese doesn't really stretch the way that non-vegan cheese does, but to be honest, I feel like that's just for spectacle, and it's kind of obnoxious when the cheese is piping hot and you get it all over your face. So it's kind of a bonus if you think about it. And once you got them all good and ready, serve them up with some marinara sauce. And of course, you can make your marinara sauce from scratch, but I was feeling a little lazy after all this, so I just decided to get some jarred stuff. And it worked out great. I mean, look at that. What's better than a piece of deep fried cheese? Well, putting that deep fried cheese on a burger, of course. And whether you decide to do it up like me on a burger or you decide to eat it classic style like this, I hope you all enjoy this recipe. I hope you're all doing great, and I'll see ya next week.